The new way to play Dracoslayers post-December banlist is right here. Keep watching to find out ratios, the tech, and also some new surprises. If you've seen the combo video, you'll find out the deck profile of that in this video. Before we get into the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so the YouTube algorithm sees us. Let's get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. I know there's not a lot of time, but I think we can do it. Let's get into the video. There are some slight changes, but if you want to see a full in-depth guide, everything you need to know about Dracoslayer, I highly recommend my All You Need to Know Dracoslayer video, where it goes in depth about side deck and tech cards. But in this video, we're going to talk about the deck profile. The ban list will affect the meta. Archfiend Eccentric, we don't need it anymore. So that's definitely one card we can take out of the deck. First up is Majesty Pegasus and her friends, the Magister Baboon. This card searches your field spells, your Necro Valleys, Zombie World. Against Foundries, search Zombie World and you win the game. I actually had that scenario happen where we went into a classic beatdown matchup because Zombie World was on the field and Robina can't do anything against a 1950 Pendulum Dracoslayers. Necro Valley is your out to tournament, and a lot of other graveyard decks right now. Naturia Shizu come to mind, Dragon Link and Bestial Branded, four of the best decks in the room. So searching the Necro Valley, which outs them, is actually kind of absurd. Babunku is there to access more copies of Majesty Pegasus and is great to bait hand traps. Because this effect, it can't be targeted or destroyed by hand traps or effect. Next card is Dynamite Power Load. Special summon whoever's in your other skill, enabling your Beyond the Pendulum, and then when distributed for a fusion summon, you can add one to hand from the extra deck. So I think that's really key and is really important. Ignis Phoenix is most likely the least effective Dracoslayer, but it still packs a punch. Being able to special summon any Dracoslayer from the deck and treat as a tuner is really strong in a Pendulum deck focused on popping stuff to gain advantage. Ignister Prominence comes to mind and Sky Iris comes to mind. If you want to search the Omni Negate Dracoslayer Masterpiece, you can do that with Ignis Phoenix. So it's even more important in that build. We're playing 3 Luster Pendulum because you are playing a Dracoslayer deck, you just need that name, and it's a scale 5, which is quite good. Its effect is actually really good as well to enable the follow-up. So when you Pendulum summon, you have actually monsters to summon. I was a big fan of playing this at 2 because with the Luster, you can add a Master Pendulum from deck to hand. From testing, I just don't think you need it anymore. Next up, we're running the Purple Poison Magician with the 2 Harmonizing Magician. I'm running a 2-2 ratio, and when I'm siding, I tend to take out 1 Harmonizing because Purple Poison is just way more important. We're running 2 Scrollbat Joker because we want to search the Odd Eyes package, Omni Negate package, which is really important. So make sure you're running 2 or 3. I don't think you can run 1 anymore because of how powerful the package is. Being able to search the Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon is just something I don't think you can ignore, enabling this deck to be the best rogue deck in the game, potentially a tier 1.5 tier 2 deck. Having no once per turns means you can search for any Dragon Pendulum that you want. Special summoning Ignister Prominence the Dracoslayer as many times as you want means you can spam the board like crazy and set up a nice board to OTK the opponent. Speaking of Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon, we're going to run the Performer Power Odd Eyes Seer package. Seer is the new card in Crystal Revenge, enabling us to basically set up an Omni Negate before the 5th summon. Now the question is, does it stop Nibiru? It actually doesn't stop Nibiru because on the Beyond the Pendulum summon, you can't use monster effect, but that's the only time they can Nibiru, and if they do, you're just going to Pendulum summon. So it's actually not that bad, and you do play around it quite well thanks to the spammability and the soft once per turns of all the Dracoslayer cards. So I think it does play around Nibiru. Now for some blind game 1 picks, I'm playing 2 Magnamur and 1 Druid Swarm. I think 3 Magnamur is actually totally fine because you're not always playing tier element at your locals. At a regional, at a YCS, I think this ratio should be changed to 3 and 1. Because you're just going to see that much more tier element. Being able to search the Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon, the Arc Pendulum Dragon, and any of the Master and Luster Pendulums with Magnamur is something you can't ignore. Speaking of broken Darkwind Blast cards, we're talking about Fenrir. Fenrir is so important in Dracoslayer because you're able to break the opponent's board. I remember in locals last week against Naturia Shizu, against Sanavalon Recard, this card basically held them hostage and we were running in time as well. Now this is a super flex spot, and I'm just going to say right now, you don't need to run this card, but in my experience, having a hand trap is actually really good. Infinite Permanence will see some clashes with the Fenrir and the Bestials. That's why I don't play Imperm. Ash Blossom is your best hand trap. Yes, against tournament, it's really awkward. Basically stop them from getting the Salyak or the Crime in hand. So when it is your turn, you can try and break the board. And then we're running some power cards. So again, because of the Bestials, because of Fenrir, because of tournament, effects in the main phase are really common right now. So that's why we're running the triple tactic. I think it's great in Dracoslayer because sometimes you are missing that one piece. And of course, going second, you can steal their monster, summon a Pendulum monster, going to be on the Pendulum. So that's really effective as well. And then the last 2 cards, so of course, Sky Iris is a must. You have to play Sky Iris. It's just so good. You can pop the Guiding Ariadne, trigger the counter trap search, and most importantly, gets you to the Odd Eyes Revolution, which gets you to your Ignister to loop his effect. So it's really important. You've noticed I've taken out the Astrograph and I've taken out the Rotar. Moving on to the extra deck, we have Ignister Prominence. Being a soft once per turn for both his effects means you can spam the board and is arguably the whole reason why you played this deck. I think this card is just way too important not to run at 2. Next, we're going to talk about the Dinosaur Power. It can special summon a Dracoslayer from the graveyard, which actually does come up, and it's great to get rid of the Harmonizing Magician on the field. We're running Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, of course, the card that changed the deck forever. Some exceeds we're running is Magister Paladin. It's part of the combo. Get such a Punjab at the end phase, which used to be Archfiend Eccentric. If you didn't get your Odd Eyes negate combo, you can set that up for the next turn because Vortex Dragon actually bounces on summon. Next up is Hope Harbinger and Baguska. Baguska is your out when you get de-shifted, which I was able to create an insane like 5-6 disruption board under shifter. But sometimes even against Flunder, for example, stay on Baguska as much as you can and then win the game with your hand advantage. And the Hope Harbinger is just something you go into very easily in the combo. Now the last exceed is Abyss Dweller, just a Terror Element check at the moment. I think if you're able to set up the Necro Valley, Abyss Dweller is very redundant, so you know, keep that in mind. We're running the World Dragon Zelantis as a link for boss monster and access code talker. I think access code is a must because sometimes you do need that 5300. And then Zelantis is of course your broken extender. You could argue it's a win more card. Sometimes being able to spam the board with the Dracoslayer fusions and synchros is really broken. And then its pop effect actually does come into use. It's actually really clutch. And if you're able to summon the monsters to the zones at the right time, at the right place, this card can probably win you games more than you think. We're running Appaloosa as the last link for because we do spam a lot of monsters. And Appaloosa just makes sense in a deck like that. Celine, of course, is a Pendulum deck, special summoning spellcaster from the grave, which is part of the combo, is really key. We're running Nightmare Unicorn and the IP. This is a package I see some people take out, but I really like it. I think it's really good to be reactive on the opponent's turn. It does lose to Dark Gorilla quite bad. But sometimes we have so many Dracoslayers on the board that it's best to just go into an IP. So I used to play this at 1 in my very early build, but you never want to play this at 1. It's just such an important card. If it gets hand trapped, which is very common and does happen, you can actually go into a second one and then do this effect again because it's not once per turn. And guys, that's been the extra deck. We move on to the side deck now. Considerations were the Out Rival Cyber's Ignista, which I think is actually really good and may need some figuring out. You play the Savage Dragon. For the side deck, we're running 3 Gravity Collapse and the Guiding Ariadne to search the 3 counter trap. I found, especially in time, game 3, going first, you've already lost life points because of your combo. You lose way too much life points to even have a chance of winning, and I found that it actually puts me in a bit of a bind more than I think. So I'm trying out the Gravity Collapse, and yeah guys, it's insane. See, you've seen it in my other combo video. Being a long combo deck means you're always worrying about time, so having a card that just straight up ends their turn is really good. I think this is a good alternative to Solemn Judgment, but I don't think it's a replacement. Keep that in mind. We are a long combo deck. I actually managed to perform the full combo in like a minute and a half, so sometimes players don't know what your deck does. There's a lot of text on these cards. I feel like I'm reading an essay, like 6 essays in 60 seconds. Dark Lomos to basically break the opponent's board. Sometimes Telements are really broken going first, so you need to break their board, and it's the same for other decks as well. The same way we lose to a lot of decks, the same way we do it to them. Dark Really Evilly is probably the best combo in the game. And then we're running Necro Valley and Zombie World. So Necro Valley is of course your Terror Element out, it's your Naturia, it shields you out, it's your Beast Duel out, Branded out. And Zombie World is your Flunderies card. If you think there's a lot of flu players at your locals, definitely main deck this card because it's not even, sometimes I rotate the 2 if I want to main deck each of them, but ultimately they're best in the side deck. And if you're playing at a YCS level, you might want to main deck the Necro Valley. When Dracoslayer gets more popular, when anti-spell starts being in people's side deck, that's when we need to run the Twin Twisters, maybe the Trap Eaters, maybe the Cosmic Cyclone, because anti-spell is essentially an FTK for us, and the only out we really have is hand traps and Fenrir. So always have an out in your side deck. Mine right now is evenly matched and Fenrir, and for now it seems to do the job. Thank you guys so much for watching the deck profile for Dracoslayer post-December ban list. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Also comment below what you want to see next in the future. Thinking of doing a dual commentary video where I take this deck online against the meta. And that being said, thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.